What's up? Hi, Scott. Thanks for joining. Hi, YouTube. I'm Aphrodite Rose Starfire. Welcome to my channel. Hi, Monica Farrow. Good morning. Good morning, Z Scott. Nice to see you. Thanks for joining. How many of you guys are experiencing a smoky situation? I went from 7 to 4. Wow. It's a heat wave across the USA with an associated smokiness brought to you from Canada. Can you believe it's even smoky in Florida? Can you believe it? Zeus Scott says, I've been stoned before, lass. LOL. I don't mean that kind of smokiness. I mean the smoke in the air, the haze. So I highly suggest, if you can get to the ocean, that is your best bet. But the moment you go inland, see, you can even see right here, it starts to get hazy. And then way in there, Monica says, I'm in southeast Louisiana, south of I-10. Hot AF, but no fires or smoke. Oh my gosh, Louisiana was like unbearable heat. It was like non-functioning heat. Louisiana. I don't know how people can live there. I can't do the mugginess. But even so the beach, it's relatively clear, but the moment we drove inland, Panama City, it was really smoky, and I'm like, is this like the smoke from Canada? This can't be the smoke from Canada. Like, I heard the smoke went down as far as Missouri, but my mom in North Carolina says her skies are clear. So I'm like, that can't be. So I looked it up, and apparently there is some 475 acre wildfire outside of Panama City, Florida, that made the whole air smoky. It did smell like a fire. It didn't smell like chemicals or anything like that. But yeah, it's like, how come there's so many fires? And it seems like some kind of ritual or like entity that's tied to 4th of July, because, 4th of July, when all the fireworks go off, there's that lingering kind of sulfury smoke that lingers in the air that everybody breathes in, and kind of makes the air hazy for a while. So now it's like an extended smoky air almost across the United States. Well, at least on the East Coast, which is like the older colonial United States. The 13 colonies seem to be up in smoke, which is interesting. So, 13 colonies. So the 13 colonies, and then it represents Osiris, right? Like the Washington Monument. And Osiris is 13 with a 14th missing piece, which is his phallus, which is the Washington Monument, like golden phallus. And the 14th colony is Florida, which is the phallus of the continental United States. So like Florida represents like the golden phallus because it's like the 14th colony. You get it? I figured that out a couple years ago. Monica Farrow says, I hibernate as much as possible from June to August. Do outdoor chores at daybreak until 8:30 a.m. Yeah, that seems to be what a lot of people here in Florida do. Wake up pretty early because the sunrise is really early, and it goes and it stays light really late till like 9:30 or so. But yeah, it gets light here around 6, like maybe even 5:45. And a lot of people are out and about exercising. It was funny because like Florida totally beats California beaches in terms of swimmability and just like overall like comfort for humans, like the water temperature, the sand, like access to the beach. California probably beats Florida in maybe like natural beauty for the beaches, but other than that, I think Florida wins because California, the water is almost always cold. There's rare times in San Diego where the water's warm and it's swimmable, but without a wetsuit and stuff. But usually it's pretty cold. But here in Florida, it's so nice and warm. Yeah, but I was mentioning to Dimitri as we were kind of driving down on I think the 30 here on the Gulf Coast of Florida on the Panhandle. And in the early morning, all of these kind of older people are exercising and running, like old school jogging. And in their like runner shorts and their like neon hats. And I'm like, it feels like this area is like 10 years behind. Like 10 years behind, and it's already so hot, so everybody's like sweaty and stuff, but like compared to California, it feels like a lot of these people should know like they shouldn't be running like old school on their joints. Like there's better ways to, but it's like, it's healthy. I'm a healthy person if I run every day. I'm a young person if I run every day. I don't know. But yeah, a lot of people slathering on the sunscreen. Oh, and another thing I don't like about Florida beaches is that there's like this private beach culture, like where they actually have gates on the beaches, like going to the beach, they'll have private gates. And then when you get to the beach, they'll have like little signs that say private beach. And then of course they're like in front of hotels, they'll have like the cabanas set up, and then there'll be a sign that you can have tents behind the cabanas. But there's actually like areas cordoned off that say private beach in front of like houses that are under construction and stuff. It's like, And I know in California you can't like own a beach. So like all of these people will be parked like in their, blue beach tents, like 3 tents, 5 tents deep. And then they'll be right up to the line of the private beach little signs. And everybody will be swimming in the water, but not in front of the private beach. And then the private beach will be totally like untouched sand except for the people walking through. So, I walk my sweet ass down there on the private beach and I sat myself down on the sand, and the people like on the other side are like looking at me, like all the moms, like are looking like, what the fuck? And then I go out in the water and then like, like have all this space. You're like, you can't own, like, who do you own the beach? Like, you tell me you own the sand. Like, oh, you own more sand during low tide than high tide. Like, oh, your property values more during low tide. Come on, you can't own the fucking beach. And then they'll have a fence, like a fence line where the beach ends and then it's like their property begins. There'll be a second fence. It's like, okay, well if this is a private beach, what's that fence for? Like that seems to be that your property line. Hi Fifth World, hi April. Fifth World says no. Smokey Skies here in St. Petersburg. Yeah, private beaches everywhere. I feel like, oh, can you actually, Fifth World, can you actually get in trouble for like, sitting down on somebody's private beach or like swimming in the area in front of somebody's private beach? Like, could they actually argue that they own the water or they just say they own the sand? Like you can't sit on the sand, but you can swim in the water. Or they actually say you can't even swim in the water in front of their private beach. Like, I don't even know how you could enforce that stuff. Like you stay here. Or I guess people just take pictures now and like send it in to the citation department or whatever. Yeah, but in California, I think it was a case up in, I think like Big Sur area or Carmel. I think it was kind of near that Iron Man house on the Pacific coast, and some guy tried to, or maybe it was around San Francisco, but some guy tried to sue somebody or whatever that he owned the beach. Like he had a private beach in front of his property. And I think it might have been, see, the thing about California is there's a lot of these natural kind of rock jetties that jut out like these cliffs. So they naturally make like private beaches. So, but even if like you have your house built up on the beach, usually like for most counties that you have to have like a certain amount of public access to that beach. It can't be your own private beach. But anyways, I think this super wealthy guy who I think his mansion was on, like, I think it might have been connected to more public-esque beaches, but I feel like it was even like kind of cordoned with jetties, but he lost. I think he lost. He put all this money into lawyering up, trying to own the beach in front of his beachfront property, and it's like you can't own that land. I mean, that land is always eroding, and that's something cool about kind of like, Aphrodite represents the beach, and except for Florida, for most parts, you can't really own a beach. It's usually for public access to enjoy. So yeah. Fifth World says, I'm just not sure that it's a good question. They probably try to ticket you if someone takes the time to call. Yeah, and I'm sure now I know Florida has moved a big ways into online tech Zoom stuff with their legal things. So I wouldn't be surprised if you can just take a snapshot of somebody's. But then you would have to like get their identification and stuff. I guess you would have to like maybe track them back to their car, or I don't know. Anyways, yeah, I guess you trespass somebody, like you're trespassing on my property, and then call the police, and hopefully they're still there on your private beach. I almost got a ticket yesterday. We were parked at a beach, kind of like parallel to the beach, like long ways, taking up spots, but there was no like lined spots. It was just like dirt. And then, people had boxed us in, parked for the beach, which we were fine with. And then another lady parked her golf cart, because a lot of people drive around in golf carts. She's like, is it okay if we park here, or we're going to be a couple hours? We're like, yeah, go ahead. So she parked parallel to us. And then the freaking code enforcement came around, and he gave a ticket to people parked in like 15-minute parking spots. And then he came back around and parked, parallel to me. And I was sitting right here. And he's like, is this both your vehicles here, the golf cart and this? I was like, yeah, this is mine. The golf cart's not mine. And then he's like, do you know whose golf cart? I was like, I don't know who they are. And he's like, well, I'll have to give them a ticket. You can't, here in this county, one vehicle for one spot. And I was like, oh, okay, sir. He's like, I'm going to have to ask you to move. I'm like, well, do you want us to leave? You want us to try right now? He's like, I don't think you can move right now. I'm like, well, sir, I'd be happy to move as soon as, we're able to move. He's like, okay, well, I'm going to have to give this golf cart $100 ticket. I was like, So he gave them a ticket, and then he didn't give us a ticket, but then he went and gave a bunch of people tickets that were parked on the other side of the street. So we were able to get out of that one. So, but yeah, what a bummer. Like, what a lame job, like going around giving people tickets while they're parked at the beach for fun on like 4th of July weekend. But usually those people, they don't like confrontation. So when you're actually there in person, they'll let you go. But they'll give you the ticket when they don't have to like face to face talk to you. Yeah, but there's a lot of people here. There's a lot of people in Florida. Monica also says, Highway 30 is the old money affluent retirees. Yeah, for sure. And there was an area that we drove through south of Rosemary Beach, and it felt like we entered the Middle East for a second. It was like you drove through these twin pillars, but they were very like, it felt like Saudi Arabia or something, and all of the buildings were white, like stark white, like it was all built by the same builder, right on the water. And then there was like resort hotel and stuff. It was all connected, like a community, planned community, but it was all white, and it really felt like it was designed by somebody that is from the Middle East, or had once that aesthetic, because that's what it felt like. And even the palm trees looked like the type of palm trees that were in the Middle East. Like, whoa. And then you drove through another set of like pillars, and then it was back to like Florida vacation homes. Yeah. So what's the point of incarnation? What's the point? Is it a school? Is it an experience? What does Matt from Quantum of Conscience say? It's like a token. Well, there's the soul trap, and then there's the soul evolution, which is like the experience tokens. One's kind of a victim mentality that we're trapped here, and then there's like the parasitic infection, or that we incarnated to rescue as a rescue mission from the Saturn moon matrix. Or there's kind of like the same kind of soul evolution theory is more like, like this is purgatory, school to learn unconditional love, or maybe I think it's more close to getting experience and learning the barometer of good and evil, like the bittersweet, and turning the poison into medicine. It's kind of hard though, because then it's like, how much do you want to fall into the archetypes that are given to you to explain what's going on, like the apple and the hypnosis. I was listening to Karen really likes her a lot.
She's that near. That water just looks so. Wow.
It's like the Truth Official, or what's her name? Her name is Anne. No. Oh, I'm totally. She has long, like blonde, almost white hair, and she does readings. She gets banned a lot. I'm sorry, I'm drawing a blank on her name. But she was talking about how she saw as like she gave images of people with the sagittal plane. Like this. There's sagittal plane, and there's coronal plane, and then there's transsectional. So, but like having like a sheet come through you, like this, and then you're like projecting, so like you're on the film, like you're like a doll on a sheet, but it's coming through you. The plane, like the plane of projection. And then she saw it kind of like this way. That's sagittal, I think. Yeah. And then there's kind of like Ogtella's kind of more described it as, he never really quite put his finger on it, that it was a soul trap, where we're running programs for entertainment purposes. And then there's the Loosh farm. And then, but then also, like, we're supposed to keep doing the programs until we learn, like, unconditional love, or we learn, like, to be beyond the game. Monica Ferris says, the channel Old World Florida has tons of content on historic roots of Florida. Very interesting info. Okay, cool. Yeah, Florida is where Christopher Columbus came in, right? Yeah. I'd say the warmest water so far has been Mississippi, but it was dirtier. And then here, the Panama City beach, it's very warm, but it's nice and clear here, which is really nice. There's so many resorts here and vacation rentals, really, really booming tourist family industry all through the Gulf Coast. So many people, and a lot of more young people here than I've seen anywhere else. A lot of teenagers and 20 somethings, a lot of young adults and teenagers here. Um, Hi, Big Drink Tea. What's up? Some people might say the point of incarnation is just to extend your DNA, to try to like extend your genetic code as much as you can and reproduce as much as you can. Like to like in some way, like the more DNA that's represented in this earth realm, the more quote power, or the more you've won. Like, is there more power in your DNA being multiplied through reproduction, or is like making babies, reintroducing your new souls into this soul Saturn moon matrix soul trap? I do think there is something towards the Christ consciousness, but I am also very aware of the archetypes that are fed to us to explain things as like the only explanation, and in a way that usurps power. So like Christ consciousness, you're already adopting that whole Christian ideology in trying to explain the attributes of trying to live in a beneficial manner where you're not being parasitic, and you're living to do well with your neighbor, as opposed to surviving, or like survival of the fittest, or competing with your neighbor. I feel like too many people that are asking about the point of incarnation are in the mind and the spirit too much. It's almost like this nostalgia for before they were born, like it's like a longing for home that's so strong, of when they remember when they weren't incarnated in the body, that they feel like that's what they want to go back to. Because I think when we're there, it's like a feeling of contentness where you're not wanting of anything. But we left there for a reason. Like, we left that state of being for and incarnated. And like that Fiona Apple song, I just want to feel everything. Like, we came here to feel things, to feel everything, the good and the bad, in bodies. But people want to have goals of being out of the body and being in spirit, or taking spirits, like to be in the mind and to be in thought, to be out here instead of like doing things. And like there's like this laziness, and I don't know if it's the hypnosis, but it's like this And then people like, and then it's like these people working out and running. It's like this slave mentality that working out is good for you, and running and sweating profusely, like being uncomfortable, getting these like cortisol and adrenaline rushes like every day, like you're stressing your body is like good for you. And it's like that's actually what ages you, when your body thinks it's running for its life all the time. It's like a programmed torture. And I think most people that work out, they don't like it, but they do it because they feel like it's good for you. And that's, the ego, the authority telling you what to do, that will give you a good life, that will make you happy, instead of just following your natural instincts. So easy. They naturally, I think most of us naturally, we go into our mind, we're going to go into the spirit, and like a lot of the online is all in the spirit, all like watching content, watching entertainment, that's like in the mental. Making content is more in the carnate, in the body. But definitely typing comments and thinking about responses and stuff, that is in the spirit, in the mental. But yeah, it's like people, it's like it's so hard, so much work to do things and to like get things done during the day, and like go out and pursue what you want. And it's like, I guess that I think that that's where the hypnosis is like or most people are putting their energy into things like working out, or and then they're, I don't know, it's, hi Kat. Couldn't explain. I always feel like I'm not explaining it very well. Hi Stu Henny. um Monica says the muddy Mississippi River empties at state line of Louisiana, Mississippi. The beautiful waters begin at the Mississippi and Alabama. Hey guys, I overheated. Stu Henry says, hi, we don't reincarnate until we upgrade or evolve to the point we achieve spiritual graduation. Then we reincarnate in another dimension or on a new planet. Cheers. Yeah, I don't know. It feels like part of it is remembering, is keeping the memory. But it also feels like humans, at least in our sense, haven't been around that long. Because if we had natural progression of generations, we wouldn't continue the child abuse and the torture and all that stuff for very long. So that just makes me feel like we haven't been around for very many generations, maybe like 5 generations. Because I feel like most humans learn after maybe 6 or 7 generations that, to break the cycle, like don't treat your kids like your parents treated you kind of deal. Like be better. Because it just doesn't make sense that people could just be continuing the bad cycle and still prosper for hundreds of generations. You see what I'm saying? That just doesn't support a society that is sustainable. So that makes me think that we're given false histories, and or maybe we're more like Westworld and we keep a backlog of the memory, but we're like, what is that? Oh, the birthmarks. Yeah, the birthmarks. I have like the Spear of Christ birthmark. Where's it? Right here. The mark where Christ is speared in the side. But then we wake up in our new body and our memories are erased, but it's still back there somewhere. Like us, that's like the Akashic record or what the DNA memory is. But then, like, who is the judge, like, deciding if you meet the goals of your little lessons, right? It's like, that's like Yeshua or Yahweh is the judge God, right? The judge. But in the end, you're the judge of yourself if you're good or evil. But then that's the point, right? Of eating from the tree of good and evil, because it's the tree of life and the tree of knowledge all wrapped up into one. So I do think evolution is part of it. Maybe it's incorporating the snake archetype. But it's mostly like learning to take responsibility for what's in your surroundings. Like, if you don't like the situation, do something to change it and not be a victim or not ask for somebody to change it for you. And then it's like, once you've learned that, you look at people who are in like a victim mentality, who just won't ever do anything with their life, and you can think like, how can they complain about their life, and not do anything about it? It's like they're stuck in this like wallowing pit of hopelessness. But it's also that laziness, right? It's the effort to do something. It's like not worth it. Or you try something and it hurts and you don't like the pain, so you'd rather avoid it than actually push through it. Maybe it's learning to like the pain, as sick as that sounds. Maybe it's helping people's pain, helping them refrain their pain into something constructive. Hi, Virginia, dear. So I think the what I can come to is like, the goal is to sink into your most authentic self and not do what you're told is what is the right thing for you to do. What you're told is the right thing to do might be the right thing to do, but you have to like learn that judging system inside of yourself. And part of that is the incarnations, is learning that judgment system of what's good for you, what's bad for you, the knowledge of good and evil, the poison and the medicine. But learning to, follow your heart. Some people say follow your gut, your intuition, that voice, but then people have like decided to have multiple voices in their head. That some people have the parasitic voice and then their real voice and then maybe an angel voice, and then like a technology voice. Like some people have like 5 voices. a lot of people are arguing in their head a lot. But that goes back to incarnation, is part of that voice, the authentic voice. It's tied to the body. It's very tied to like like a feeling inside it, like your gut, your heart. It's like it's here in your solar plexus area. It's like the butterflies. It's like a feeling of uneasiness. um if somebody, you decide to go with somebody's direction and you're like, I just don't feel like that's the right thing, but I'm going to go with what you say. Like when you feel it's not the right thing, you have to go. I don't feel like it's the right thing. We're not going to do it that way. You have to, like, the sooner you do that, the more in your authenticness you are, and then that is like the track, right? The authentic track of the train, of the plane. I constantly dream of planes being on tracks. Isn't that weird? Like, I dream of planes being on like a roller coaster track, and they take off by going up the roller coaster, and then at the top of the mountain of the roller coaster, the track just ends, and then the plane glides off, like free falls into flight. But yeah, that's like the rings, the railroad going around the Christmas tree on one track mind. She's off the rails, she's off the tracks. A DNA code is a track. Maybe that's the authentic track. Is the spiral, the Fibonacci spiral on the railroad track. Corkscrew. I don't know, these are all things to think about. But definitely, if you're in a smoky situation and having trouble breathing, you have to physically relocate your body somewhere else where the air is better. They want everybody inside with air conditioning. I think because right now there's something beneficial in the air, the sun. Maybe it's the UV spectrum. Hi, LXDR1F7. Panama City reminds me of Pan. Yeah. It's pretty poppin' here with like the tourists. Stu Henney says, humanity seems more selfish and removed from spiritual connection than ever. Think of ancient Sumerians, Babylonians, and Egyptians. They were capable of things we can't understand. Yeah, but like, how much of that is a story that's given to us? I feel like a lot of the Egyptian artifacts are created, like actually like created within the last 100 years. Discernment. Mad Mystic, who's a pogo? Are you calling me a pogo? Florida Dare, Virginia Dare says, you're in Florida, it's hot. Yeah, it's so hot. Yeah. I'm right where like apparently 7 people just died for the rip current. But it's funny because I felt the rip current way more west where the flags were yellow. Really strong rip current in like Destin. But here it wasn't that bad. So, yeah. There's also this like what came first, this like Kabbalistic, Gnostic stuff or the Greek stuff? I feel like the Greek stuff is way older. And I looked up how to spell Yaldabaoth, and I clicked on the Wikipedia explanation, and the story is that Yaldabaoth was created by Sophia, and she immediately abandoned it because it was a monster to her. But it was like Sophia created without her male counterpart. And I was just kind of like, well, who is her male counterpart? I guess it's kind of Uranus. Like Sophia's more kind of like Gaia, and then her male counterpart would kind of, I guess, be like the sky god Uranus. That's what I always kind of assumed. But in Wikipedia, it says, oh, Yaldabaoth was created by Sophia, making it without her male counterpart Christ. I was like, what? Like, I never heard. This is on the Wikipedia page for Yaldabaoth. I had never heard that the counterpart for Sophia was Christ, that she didn't include for her creation. And so I was like, is this a Mandela effect? Is this like, has this always been the case? Or did somebody just write this Wikipedia page wrong? But yeah, I never heard that. Like, so it was like Christ and Sophia hanging out, and then Sophia decided to make Yaldabaoth all on her own. It's like weird. So, yeah. Virginia says, watch out for crab people on the beach. Sue Henry says, you're right about so much of the history we're told had been messed with. Yeah, for sure. And then there's this thing with the twin brother gods, or the two brother gods. It's Jesus and Lucifer, Enlil and Enki, Joaquin and Boaz, the twin towers, the two pillars, Christ and Antichrist. I guess now they're teaching now in like the really progressive churches that Christ had two daddies and wore a rainbow tunic. So Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, like, where's the ladies? It's like all about these dudes worshiping, and then like what the Muslims say, praise be to Allah, like, or praise be to Muhammad or whatever. It's always like they have to give credit to the guys first. Can never be the woman. Like, you have to give credit to the guy because he needs to be told like he's doing a good job. It's like this reassurance. I guess some of the New Age people say like praise Mother Goddess, or I don't know. Yeah, Cain and Abel. Virginia says, I heard the Holy Spirit is female. Well, it really is Aphrodite. They hide this in the dove. The Holy Spirit is the dove, but Aphrodite is the dove. The dove is, the turtle dove. I guess like the big book on Kabbalah is something about the turtle dove. And I told the Promethean channel, I was like, the turtle dove is Aphrodite, and they always try to mask it as Holy Spirit. But it really means love. It's the love between a man and a woman that creates the son. Like, it should be the Father, the Mother, and the child, not the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. The Holy Spirit is Aphrodite, the love, like the romantic love. And then there's a lot of churches where like the dove's like going down. Like, I think like the Baptist church, I know it gives me creeps. Like the dove is like free falling. But doves create milk. It's actually kind of strange. They create dove milk. Like, they actually secrete a milk that they give to their babies. And doves express like a courtship love for each other. Hi, Michael Gregory. Find a good stick to get stick in your eye, baby. I did get a stick in my eye when I was little and scratched my cornea. They had to put that dye in there. Yup. It's so hot. I think I'm going to go in the water. All right, guys. I hope you find purpose for your incarnation today. Do something active. Listen to your body. Be in your body. Yep. On my boat. Awesome. Get on a boat.